You're listening to Fight the Fear podcast. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/fightthefearpodcast for more information. What is up? The 90s, I'm going to jump forward though to 1991, to the summer of 1991 in particular, only because I had like this really sharp, specific memory. Right after I graduated high school in June 1991, I was in a band. I had already been playing with some guys, and we were doing, 60s, Cream, Hendrix, Van Halen, Judas Priest, just stuff all over the place, House of the Rising Sun, for crying out loud. And all of a sudden, August of 91, my buddy's got this CD and we're listening. He's like, "You ever heard of Pearl Jam?" I'm like, "What the frick is a Pearl Jam? Like, who's she?" He's like, "No, dude, listen to this. Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow, bow down, now. Why go home?" Right? Like, phew, what the hell? And then, bow down, bow, bow, down, down, bow, 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 down, down, like, yeah, it's funny, right? But dude, that shit rocked. Even flow, us ride like butterflies, right? Like, dude, like, I'm being funny, but holy shit, that stuff was rocking my world. So let's just slow our roll here, jabronis. So this episode's going to be funny because it's going to start again, and then I'm going to talk about like songwriting and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you the ending before the end. That's because I like to do it like that. What I was alluding to in the next part of the podcast is I was saying that there was something that brought me back to these memories. I had been thinking about doing the 90s, like starting in 1990 and coming all the way to Y2K. And I had to jump ahead to 91 about Pearl Jam because in my town, at the Civic Auditorium in LaPorte, Indiana, they've redone the building, and they've been hosting like concert series and concert events. And they've had a few names in there, but they've been getting these really cool, what do you call them? Like tribute acts in there. Okay, we saw a Van Halen tribute that was pretty good. There was was it Styx? No, not Styx. I think it was like the 60s or something like that. Those guys were really good. And somebody said, "Hey, there's this band coming called 10. I'm like, 10? What the fuck is 10? You mean like Pearl Jam 10? They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, I don't know, man. That's got to be tough to pull off some Pearl Jam because like maybe you can get the music close, but it's always, to me, it's not just... There's things about Pearl Jam that stick out, right? Like the bass has a very specific tone to it, a very specific way that Jeff Ament played. The beats on the first album, the guy that played them, he quit. They were like Spinal Tap for a while with the drummers, and then the guy that came in after the first guy stayed with him through the second album, and then he was gone. Because he got too big for his britches and started getting all weird. So what I eventually want to get to, though, is I want to talk about, like, why is it that a lot of these bands from the 90s that were huge and really sort of defining of this new genre of grunge and grunge rock or whatever, like, why are so many of them committing suicide? Why are so many of them dying? Like, what's going on, guys? It's craziness. Because Soundgarden was around, Chris Cornell, And Lane Staley from Alice in Chains OD'd, and the bass player ended up ODing later. You know, he got kicked out of the band after the first record. Just maybe not necessarily the grunge guys, but just 90s in general. Like towards the end of the 90s, when you had like the new metal stuff, and you had Linkin Park, and then you got Chester Bennington, you know, offed himself, and like, what's going on, guys? Scott from STP, like, it's so depressing. I loved all these guys, you know. That was such a part of my youth, and to see them get a little bit older and something's going on, that they're having troubles, and that's their only way out. That's their only recourse to deal with it, you know. And it's tough. It was like right in a row in a few years. So, you know, I'm not going to joke about that. That's not something to kid around about. But those bands, those guys had some really genre-defining moments. But let me get back to this. So, this 10 band thing, right? 10. They're called 10. On the little picture on the YouTube video, I've got Pearl Jam, and then below them is a picture of 10 band, and it's like, who dis? And I gotta talk to you about both. The impact of Pearl Jam, I don't know. It's one of the, it wasn't as powerful until 30 years later when I see 10 band. And I got to tell you why, because it was like this wild moment. So go back to that first Pearl Jam album. I was in a band. One of the guys was a younger guitar player, Chad. And he would stay up all night figuring out all these riffs. So we would play a couple of their tunes, and we would play some Pearl Jam. We would play some Alice in Chains. We would play some Soundgarden, and then we would play, you know, some Guns N' Roses and some Metallica and some original music, and just a huge mix, you know, because it was that big turning point in between the decades. So we were bringing the old stuff with us, but also enjoying the new stuff. And it was really hard to define Pearl Jam because they weren't a straight up blues rock band, but then they were, you know, it was weird. It was like they had this sort of folky element to them. Don't call me daughter, you know, like the acoustic stuff, but then they jammed. Like they had that beat, that power in the beat. And then there was these little riffs, like I was talking about the bass player. And then there'd be these little intricate, not intricate so much, but there'd be like a interplay with the guitar parts. So you'd have like a straight chord, and then you have somebody else over there noodling some little notes, you know. And it just made a really cool sonic sound backdrop for the really distinct vocals of one Eddie Vedder from Chicago. And he had such a like sort of a deep voice, but a high tone. I don't know how to explain it. You know, it's very original. And the lyrics don't hit you if you're not listening, if you're not paying attention. If you're paying attention, they were pretty heavy. They were pretty heavy. Jeremy and just even flow, different stuff. Like such a good sonic backdrop to put that poetry over too, you know. But listen to that stuff till I couldn't listen anymore. When the second album was going to come out, I think we were going into 92, right? Wasn't it the winter? I think it was that same year, because the album had already been out for a long time when I first got to the first album. I'm going to look this up. Let's see. Let's ask Google what year. October of 93. No way. No way. Now my memory's all jacked up. Release date. Yep, October. Okay, so hold on. Let me figure this out. So that would have been, like I said, August of 91. So now let's look up. Yeah, I was late to the party because I think I heard Nirvana first. Pearl Jam 10 release date. What was that? Yes, you can know my location, for Christ. Oh, it did come out in August of 91. Okay, so my buddy got it right when it came out. Okay, so that was going towards the end of the year 91. Then get all the way through 92. then damn, almost through. So they blew the hell up in 92. So then 93, still listening to that and everything else that was coming out. Head to the fall of 93, and I remember going to the shopping mall and standing in line at midnight to get my hands on that second album. And I think we had already heard one track, maybe 2 tracks from it on the radio. And I remember putting that sucker in, and when that first song hit, dude, holy shit. Da 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 pop. Dude, that album, whoo, whoo. The hair just stood up on the back of my neck. Wow, that thing ripped. And I hadn't listened to it in so long, and so many things had transpired in my life between October of 93 and this was just what? March of 23. So I go to this thing to watch this cover band, and I got my arms crossed. I'm like, there ain't no way this is gonna be good. Opening band comes out, and I'm sorry, they were horrid. I don't mean to judge, but it wasn't good, guys. I'm sorry, it wasn't good. All right, they come out and they kick it with the very opening song from 10, and I thought, ain't no damn way. I thought it was a recording. This dude starts singing, and oh my God, if you weren't looking, it was Eddie freaking Vedder. So I'm thinking, okay, they got my attention. First song, second song, they rocked a couple. Next thing I know, they're gonna pull out freaking songs off of Versus. Let me look at the track order here real quick. Pearl Jam Versus tracks. Let's see. Where the frick is it? Here it is. Yeah, Go, Daughter, Animal, Dissident. Good grief, guys. Like, Animal was just a jam. Daughter, Glorified G, Dissident, WMA, Blood, Rearview Mirror. I played that in a band. Rats just rocked. Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town was cool. Leash, Indifference. Oh my gosh, dude. So the 10 band played both of those albums pretty much. Note for note, beat for beat. The tiniest little timbre sound of the cymbal, little tap hit, stick, crack. They just like naturally did it in such a way that it was like too good. Like, you would not want to see the original band be that good, but you'd want to see a tribute to the original band be that good. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a judgy ass motherfucker when it comes to bands. And I've seen people do the same thing to me when I played in bands. It's probably a big reason why I don't play in bands. These dudes were hands down the best live band tribute that I've ever seen in my life. I would almost say the best live band I've ever seen in my life. They were that fucking good. I'm not kidding you. I've stood 30 feet from Edward Van Halen. I've touched Zakk Wylde while he was playing his solos. These dudes are my idols and my heroes for music. You know what I'm saying? I've watched Tony Iommi play. I've seen Megadeth. I've seen Aerosmith. I've seen so many greats. I've seen the Rolling Stones. I've seen Rod Stewart. I've seen Lenny Kravitz. Every one of these motherfuckers will take you to school on how it's done. And the 10 band could hang with every one of them. And the 10 band just passed 30 years of being the world's best or world's number one or world's most prolific. Well, I don't even know the title. Pearl Jam tribute. And I found myself so wrapped up in the music that I'm like dancing in my chair, just singing and rocking. because those first two albums just hit for me so good. And when it came to that Vitalogy and moved forward from there, it wasn't so much that Pearl Jam was trying to soften up or change. They were just doing what was natural in the progression of writing music. I talk about that in the other part of this podcast. I'm talking about the process, the mechanics of writing are their own little game where you almost don't, it's different from the music enjoyment. You know, like you hear a song and la la la, now you're working on how the parts click together, and it's different. It's a different way of doing things. And I kind of lost touch with the band after that and didn't really listen to much. And when I sat down and watched 10, I was flooding with them. I was over there trying. I didn't want anybody to see. I was crying. It moved me to tears. It was that freaking good, because it was like, I never went to see Pearl Jam. I never wanted to say that I was into the cool kids bands or whatever, because, you know, I was whatever. And it made me feel like I finally got to, you know, and Pearl Jam's going on tour. I could go see them if I want, but there's so much music in between then and now that I have no clue what they have done. It's almost like an embarrassment of riches, they call it. But let's take this little quick second to say Hick Chick Design Company and I have come together to I got some hip hop chains that I'm gonna be wearing that you see on my logo. See my logo? See that? And you'll see I'll always put like a hip hop chain on my thumbnails for my collecting with cool. So I got those made. Those are not gonna be giveaways. This is a one of a kind, and this is a one of a kind. These are one of ones. That's the silver edition. But we've got some stuff that she's gonna custom make for me, and I'm gonna be doing giveaways. Does this remind you of the 90s with the neon? If you're on the audio, you'll have to go check the video so you can see this. I got the audio. I got the neon glasses. Can you see that? Fear Fighter, baby. Fight the Fear podcast coffee mug. Let's do this. I should have done this earlier, but you know what? In the honor of everything being mixed the fuck up, we're gonna do some spiced rum, a healthy pour. It's a lot. With some Sprite. That's a 2-ingredient. That's cream soda, guys. Cheers. Have a sip, relax. Because I want to know what you guys think of the 90s music and stuff like that. Like, what did you enjoy? We can talk about the 2000s, but I had to start somewhere, right? And it was just, I had this moment where I'm sitting in this crowd of, 1,000 people, 2,000, whatever it was, and I'm damn near crying because I'm having flashbacks and memories of the good old days. And it was totally unexpected, So the very next day, I had the Pearl Jam albums out, rocking the shit out of my house. I had stuff falling off the fucking walls, and I think it's good to do that once in a while, just to get it out. Oh my goodness, that was such a sissy, soft ass burp. My dog farts louder than that burp. Something that hit me a couple times over the last few years and really hit home about, a few weeks back. I was thinking about music, and I used to play live music, and I used to do a lot of songwriting. And I did less and less listening to music, less and less enjoying music. Like the process of putting it together, starting with some noise, making a little melody, putting a beat to it, a bass line, a guitar piece, some keys, a vocal line, building. So you're building. So the whole time that you're building, you're not really appreciating the completed structure, And I felt like, I don't know, you lose something along the way when you get into it that deep. A lot of people don't do songwriting and stuff like that. So it's like you have that period of your life where you just enjoy it and you hear something for the first time and you have those aha moments. And I really feel like music has something about it that, I don't know if control is the right word, but it does something to our soul. It does something to us in our mind. It takes us places. It touches on memories. It'll cause us to tear up. It'll cause us to laugh. It'll cause us to get angry, get excited, gyrate, move, dance. It'll move us, physically move us, just through the reverberation, the vibration of the tones through our skin, through our body, down into our bones, down to my plums. And it will, I don't know, you'll just hear something and just make you kind of close your eyes like, wow, that was so good, right? And I can remember there's certain things along the way where you start to develop your taste in music, but your taste can change. And then you take those things and you take them as influence, or you, like I said, I'm a seeker and I read. I would read about an artist that I admired, and he would say, or she would say, this is what I listened in my early days. This is what I listened to for inspiration. So then I wanted to find out what they used as inspiration. And I dug deeper and I discovered this and I discovered this and this. And you keep going back. And then I would do that too. I would see, I like this guy. I'm reading an interview. He brings up something he liked. I'm gonna go check it out. And you listen to that and you go, oh wow, that's where that came from. I kind of hear the influence, So then you become this builder, I guess. The best way I can describe it with songs. And you build something out of nothing. You become a transponder. You become an antenna to the universe, and the vibrations come to you. And you play a little melody. And eventually you're going to play something that sounds like somebody else. That's just how it is. There's 12 notes. I mean, there's only so many combinations. And then you have your skill level that affects how well those things can convey out of you, right? So you put it together, you make a little ditty, you make a song. Hey, check this song out, blah, blah, blah. Some of it's really great and helps the person be successful, and other people, it just kind of helps them get that out of their system. And, it's kind of like therapy. So for me, that's what it was. It was kind of like therapy. But then I noticed along the way, for years of doing that and getting into the equipment and putting it all together and bringing in people to play on it and putting it all together, you really you fall in love with the process, but you're not loving the music so much anymore. It's like two different things. It's weird. It's like, yes, you enjoy the music and you really love the parts, and you'll listen to it over and over and over and over, and you'll remember those little things that you were doing. But then other music that you listen to coming to those points, you just kind of like, I don't know, it just falls by the wayside. You don't do it. You don't do it as much. And I just remember feeling like that over the years, where I was like, man, I used to listen to this all the time. Let me bring that back out and see what it's like. And it's still great. And then I can remember some moments where things just freaking flipped my wig. And one of the big things was right as high school was ending and I was getting more into playing in bands and things. All of a sudden, you had Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, all these other bands in that sort of group of bands from Seattle and other places in the United States and other places in the world, really. It was like this, the grunge movement, especially Nirvana, but Pearl Jam more than anything. They were like blues rock, but yet it was just amazing because it kind of resonated. It already felt familiar. It just made you feel something. And I never really thought about it, because after the second album, I didn't care for what was coming out of them. And that's not to knock them. It's just they were evolving and moving forward in their career and making songs that they enjoyed, and I was listening to other stuff by then. I was going more into heavy rock, hard rock, heavy metal, faster, harder, edgier, things that I hadn't heard and would discover later and then kick myself because I'd be saying, why didn't I know this was out? Why didn't I know this existed? This is so great. This is so awesome. I'm still doing that today. I had this hard rock song that I found. I sent it to my buddy and I'm like, dude, you gotta listen to this. And he's like, when is this from? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 8 years old. My bad. But it was amazing, right? I do that a lot. But you can't be everywhere at once. You can't listen to everything at once. And there's so much out there that's good and enjoyable. And there's stuff out there that's crap. And there's stuff out there that the definition by the industry has changed. Like everybody makes the joke about country music nowadays is what Bon Jovi was doing 30 years ago. I mean, it's like the industry is putting that out there. You've got country songs that are rap, country songs that are hard rock. They're trying new things. They're trying to take it somewhere else. They're trying to appeal to a bigger audience. And, somebody that's older from a different generation is going to say, well, that's not country. Country's traditional. It's like this. It's got roots in bluegrass and blues, and you're ruining it. But, the people doing the music and calling themselves that's what they want to be, then that's what they are. I don't know how else to put it. But I can just say that when Pearl Jam came out, I want to say it was like August of 91, that summer of 91. 1 minute I'm listening to Kiss and Poison and Motley Crue and Van Halen, and all of a sudden somebody puts on this song. What song was it? Even Flow from 10, the album 10. And I just thought, my God, who is this? This is awesome. These dudes are getting down. They are jamming. It was like the emotional energy of hard rock, but the sound was something different. It was dirty. It was bluesy. It wasn't like super crisp and clean and well produced. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't mean that. It's like, it was produced well, but it was like produced in a way that sounded like, some of it sounded rough. Like Nirvana, for instance, would purposely tell the producer to rip a hole in the amp, the speaker. He wanted it to sound really ripped and torn and rough. He was trying to convey emotion through the riffs and songs, when really they were nice little melodies and things. If you slowed down a lot of Nirvana songs and played them like softly, they really have like pretty melodies going through them. So there's like this really nice musical thing flowing through there that's getting covered up with like this despair and anger and angst and teen spirit, right? I want to tell you like how the Pearl Jam thing hit me just recently in my life. And, to anybody out there that's playing music of any genre, more power to you. And thank you for keeping it alive. That's what we need more of. If somebody's sitting around saying kids these days and things are different, then they're not doing their part to keep something alive. So let's just do better at that, right? To fight the fear of anything that works against you trying to better yourself and go forward in life. So I'm here with you. Let's do this together. I'll see you guys next time.